So Elon Musk, you've heard the name, right? He's probably one of the most controversial, most talked about entrepreneurs on the planet. But between all the tweets, the politics, and the crazy news cycles, it's really easy to lose track of the actual system he uses to build the future. So, the real question is, how does he actually work?
And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're taking a page out of Michelangelo's book. We are going to try to chip away all of that noise, all the controversy, and really reveal the core operating system underneath it all, the playbook he's been running for 3 decades to build everything from PayPal to SpaceX.
Because when you strip all that other stuff away, what you're left with is a set of principles that are, frankly, insanely valuable. Ideas on how to build companies, how to invent new tech, and how to just make a massive impact. This is the stuff we can actually learn from.
All right, so to really get the system, you've got to understand the guy's, factory settings. These are the core, unchangeable personality traits that are the foundation for everything he does.
This is something Musk has been saying for decades. He grew up obsessed with strategy games, and you can see how he brought that tactical mindset into business. For him, this isn't just a job, it's an all-out war, a relentless campaign he is constantly waging.
And what's crazy is how early this stuff started showing up. We're talking about his very first company, Zip2. He was already sleeping under his desk, showering at the local YMCA, and just driving his team with this insane intensity that would basically define his entire career. Yeah, this isn't a new persona. This is just who he is.
Okay, so how does that wired for war mindset actually translate into, business principles? These were kind of the raw ingredients of his genius, way before he cooked them up into a formal system.
So, one of his first and maybe most powerful tools is something he calls the idiot index. It's super simple, but absolutely brutal. He just looks at how much a finished part costs and then compares that to the cost of its basic raw materials. If that gap is huge, he sees a massive inefficiency just waiting to be attacked.
And check this out, this is a perfect example. A supplier once quoted SpaceX $120,000 for a simple actuator. Musk basically said, no way, that's just a garage door opener with a fancy price tag. He had his team build it themselves. The final cost, $5,000. That's the idiot index at work.
All right, another key piece of the puzzle is that Musk totally gets that showmanship is salesmanship. He knows that a really dramatic demo is way more powerful than any PowerPoint you could ever create. He knows how to create a moment.
Okay, this story is just legendary. Back in 2008, Tesla was literally on the brink of death. So when executives from Daimler came to visit, they were expecting a presentation. But Musk's team, driven by that maniacal urgency, had secretly bought a smart car and jammed a Tesla powertrain into it. The execs were shocked. They took a test drive, and they dropped a $50 million investment right then and there, which literally saved the company.
Okay, so we've got his core personality, these powerful principles he uses, but it was during the absolute chaos of the Model 3 production hell that he was forced to hammer all of this into a repeatable 5-step system.
And that really is the key question, right? When Tesla's survival was literally on the line, make 5,000 cars a week or go bankrupt, Musk moved into the factory. And it was there that he distilled his entire philosophy into something he simply calls the algorithm.
So this is it. And let me tell you, the order is everything. First up, question every single requirement. Don't just accept it. Find the actual human being who created it. Second, delete. Delete any part or process you possibly can. Be ruthless about it. Then, and only then, step 3, simplify and optimize whatever's left. Step 4, accelerate. Speed it up. And finally, the very last step is to automate. He says automating too early was his single biggest mistake.
And believe me, this isn't just some casual suggestion he throws around. Musk repeats this thing like a mantra. He says he became a broken record, repeating it to an annoying degree, just to make sure it's burned into the brain of everyone at his companies.
But here's the thing. An algorithm like this, it doesn't just work on its own. It needs a very specific culture to back it up, what Musk himself calls a hardcore culture.
So think of these as the add-ons to the algorithm. Managers can't just sit in an office. They have to be in the trenches doing the actual work. He actually thinks camaraderie is dangerous because it stops people from challenging each other. And he insists that everything, absolutely everything, is just a recommendation. At the end of the day, the only rules that matter are the laws of physics.
And you really saw this in action when he bought Twitter.
It was like two galaxies colliding. You had the old culture, which valued psychological safety and days of rest. And then you had Elon's culture, which is all about being hardcore and having a maniacal sense of urgency. I mean, it's a clash of two totally different universes.
So what does all this mean for the rest of us? How can we take these super intense ideas from the factory floor and, actually apply them in our own lives and work?
Well, the big takeaway here is that you don't have to be building rockets to use this stuff. The core logic applies anywhere. You can absolutely question that one pointless requirement in your next meeting or delete an unnecessary step from a workflow. You can simplify things before you try to speed them up.
And get this, Musk figures he makes around 100 major decisions a day, and he fully expects to get at least 20% of them wrong. But for him, the cost of being wrong and then fixing it is way lower than the cost of being too slow. For him, speed isn't a bonus, it's a survival trait.
At the end of the day, this whole algorithm thing, it isn't just a business strategy. It's a whole philosophy about how progress itself works. It's this deep belief that the future doesn't just happen to us. It has to be pushed and pulled and willed into existence, which kind of makes you wonder, right? What future are we just sitting around waiting for, and what are we doing to force it?